we are kicking off our fall leg of the Different World Tour. This is our first stop at the Bowie State University in Atlanta. And I'm happy to be surrounded by all of my dear colleagues, friends, and family, because they are all of that to me. And I will be quiet, and why don't y'all ask our questions, and I'll let everyone give you better answers than I can give.
I'll start. Did you ever think, any one of you guys, did you ever think when you all were actually doing the show that it would be such a cultural phenomenon later on? Did it ever hit you while you were taping the show and doing it, being in your element as actors and actresses doing your thing, that it would end up being such a cultural phenomenon years later?
Short answer is no. I was just trying to get to work on time.
Yeah.
Still trying to get
Still
failing at that.
One day.
I think, like, to Kadeem's point, we were all very young and very happy to be employed. It got to a point where we were very happy to be telling relevant stories that mattered to us, that actually reflected us and what was happening to us as young people of color in this country, and highlighting education along the way, doing our best to do our best. It was hard to know what impact we were going to have because it was a dogfight every step of the way. Most of the episodes that people consider the most relevant were the hardest to get permissions from the network and et cetera for us to tell the story as best as we could. So now here we are decades later, and so much of what we said then is still relevant now. And young people are watching the show today that weren't even born in the same decades at this point as when we originally shot it. So that speaks to the relevance. So it's, I think I can say for all of us, it's really humbling to be a part of something that has made that kind of a positive impact, and it's inspiring as well. So we're grateful. I know better now than I did then. In the middle of it, no, not so much. Yeah.
Well, I could really quickly too with Cree and I, if I could speak for you, Cree.
Yeah.
That for us, to be honest, when we first started, we feared that we were going to get fired. So it was that element. So we didn't know the significance of what we were doing. We're all gypsies. We're actors. This is what we do. So our main concern was staying on that set.
And I also think none of us had any idea that we were going to inspire so many young people to go to college.
Right.
What started happening as the show progressed is when we were getting into those last seasons, you'd be traveling or out somewhere and someone would say, my babies are going to college because of you. Or someone, our peers would come up and say, I really wanted to go to Hillman, and then I discovered there ain't no Hillman. Not Bowie State, or whatever. So we did not know, and now to know in retrospect that generations have attended HBCUs because of us is an incredible legacy and such a deep, deep honor.
Mm-hmm.
I would, Glynn, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I knew nothing then, I know nothing now. I am really astounded at the long reach that this journey has had. I've been in the business a long time. Only most of these guys have been longer than they are old. So I was astounded that this particular show has had the life that it has had, and has spread the information that it has had, and has inspired. As I was talking with one of the faculty members here today, who went to ROTC as a result of a character that I played on the show, Taylor. And so I've met people across the country, across the world, who come up to me as a result, and explain their life, how it has changed as a result of what they were able to gather from watching a different world. So you never know, and you continue to be continually astounded at the impact that it has had.
Mm-hmm.
I would add to all of that, because I don't have a disagreement with a syllable any of them have uttered, that there was a progression So if I were to bifurcate it in this way, I recall the first Thursday night that it aired, and put it in context that we're following The Cosby Show, which is a historic juggernaut in its own. So the next morning come the overnight ratings. And I remember at the time when the stage manager got the ratings on the phone, the landline, which doesn't exist anymore, and hung up the phone and said, we got a 47 share in our debut. 47% of all televisions in America watched this on day one. So I always followed the ratings. And everybody will tell you, I can tell you over the 6 years of A Different World, we made history in our first season. We were only the second show in the history of television to premiere and finish the season at #2 along with Bewitched. We finished second, third, fifth, and then in our fourth season, we did something remarkable. We ended up fourth. We were the only show in the top 5 that moved up, and that year we beat Cosby in our fourth season. So, with every week that we were a ratings juggernaut, I knew that we were popular and that was significant. With every week that we had guest stars, from Lena Horne, Patti LaBelle, Diane Carroll, to Gladys Knight, it was something special. And so I knew it was special in that way there. But if you ask me if I would know that in 1987, in 2024, there would not be a single year that A Different World has been off the air. It has been on the air and available since then. There's no way I would have known that.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have known now that as we sit here with Dr. Bro at Bowie State and we're on a tour receiving our flowers in ways that we never would have imagined. No, I couldn't have told you this was possible. So the continuing legacy of A Different World is what's amazing. The continuing impact it's had on future generations when people are telling our young people, you don't need college anymore. When college is the single most important differentiator in life outcomes. To tell black, brown, and poor people, you don't need a secondary education, to me is more dangerous than all of the garbage you see on YouTube and TikTok. If we look at the most successful people in the world, if you look at the top 400, with the exception of those like Bill Gates and Michael Dell, who dropped out of Harvard and got in, and dropped out to start a multinational conglomerate, almost everyone who is worth billions and billions of dollars, they have a college education. So when we are starting to see black billionaires now by the tens, now's not the time to tell young people you don't need to go to school. With that, I'm going to stop talking.
Exactly.
Because that's only the first question.
Now you know why he is our lead out.
Yeah, he said something about, I'm going to let them talk. So
Let's see how they're.
Yeah, that's right.
Misdirection right there.
Put my money down.
Hi, Dean Rogers with the Rogers Review. Actually, I'm an alumni of Bowie State University.
That's what I was talking about.
And my question is, tackle major subjects of the day. One of them in particular, which hits me home, was talk with AIDS, because I'm also a mother after the show. What were some of the topics that were an impact to you when you were filming that particular episode, whether it's AIDS or a different topic?
Well, okay, I'll start off.
Kelsey Freeze.
That didn't take long.
What a shock. What a shock. I'll start off. Are you going to be at the program tonight?
I don't know yet.
Okay, well, I'll just say that because we don't have most of the students here, I'm not going to tip our hand about tonight. But it's serendipitous that you asked that question about that episode prior to our show this evening. With respect to that, when the AIDS epidemic hit, the arts community was getting devastated. We were losing friends, people that worked on our show. And at that point, now we look at it decades later, if you were diagnosed with the HIV virus, that was a death sentence. It wasn't a question of when, it was a question of how long. And for so many of us who were fighting to, one, express that this wasn't just a gay disease, for us to tell the story, it took the power and the weight of Bill Cosby, of Marcy Carson, of Tom Warner, of Debbie Allen, to fight the network because advertisers were all pulling their support of that episode. It was at a time where Tisha Martin ended up playing the student that had contracted AIDS because the network insisted that it be a female character, not a male character. It was at a time where you could not show a condom on TV. You could only reference it or point
to it in a purse.
In a purse, something like that. So the times, relative to now, if you talk to young people, were draconian compared to what it's like now. So, but this was when Whoopi Goldberg had either just won the Oscar or she was nominated for the Oscar, she came to lend her considerable weight to this issue to say, we're going to have these conversations that matter. And all of us were at Debbie Allen's house because Debbie used to always host us for parties at her house when Magic held a press conference to say that he had contracted HIV. We were all together, devastated, because Magic's our friend, so all of us. So it was significant, one, not only that we raised the issue, but now look at it all these years later, and Magic Johnson is still alive.
And still our friend.
All the above. And it's an extraordinary testimony to the progress of medicine and to health concerns in our issue. And if we don't know what its impact is, all we know that it's deadly and it's impacting our community disproportionately. Same standards to COVID. That's why our show remains popular, because there's almost correlates to something that's happening in the world today. That's only question 2. See, now they're like, again, this is why I didn't yet.
Having a college tour, an HBCU college tour now, decades later after the show has aired, and specifically here at Bowie State.
Like, what impact do you think it will have on the students when you guys meet them in person, even though the show has aired years ago? Now being able to kind
Yeah, no, we heard you. We heard you say that. Why do you think the young people want to?
Crystal ball.
There you go. There you go. Why do the young people want to come talk to the old people? Got it. Okay. To Darryl's point, we're here because they want us here. Darryl can tell you, since we all agreed to participate in this journey together, we now have, a few thousand requests of who wants to speak to us. So that in itself tells us that we have a voice that wants to be heard. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that so many young people, again, to what each of us has said, the show remains relevant. The show remains pertinent. The show remains inspirational. The show remains as a source of hope, of what it could possibly be, of possibilities for each of us as individuals, from different economic brackets, from different cultural brackets, from different generational brackets. Our show has representation for people across the board, from the most seasoned citizen in Mr. Gaines, who cares for the students in a very loving way. He doesn't have a degree, but he's there offering wisdom and opportunity and empowerment. You know, to Kadeem's character, to Darryl the hustler, to Charnele the med student, to me the returning student, to Cree the free student who just wants to be filled and inspired. It all makes a difference, and that's who is in school. Almost every stop we make, there is someone who comes up and says, thank you for representing brown sisters of all hues. It's like, I never thought of myself as beautiful and worthy before, but I saw you and said, yes, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? You see Colonel Taylor's character talking about ROTC and military service and sacrifice and discipline, and you know, all of us represented something. So there's someone that comes up to us and says, I went back to college because I saw your character go back to college. We hear stories like that all the time. So This opportunity is an opportunity for us to show them we are real human beings. We are not some stratospheric, untouchable, impossible goal. We are
Because they were perfect in our imperfection.
I said, there you go, there you go. And that if we can do it, you can do it. It wasn't easy for us. Thank you for applauding our landing, our exposed selves, but at the same time, we've hopefully uncovered opportunities for you to see yourself.
I'd like to jump in here and answer your question about the impact. You heard those characters that were described. We have what's called HBCU pride. And it's because of those types of characters that were played that our students have that sense of pride in themselves. They see themselves in those characters. And I applaud the producers and everyone who pulled that show together to not just pigeonhole and say, oh, this is what it means to have the African American experience, because we are a diverse people, and our students see that when they watch the show. So I have no doubt that when they finish participating in the program tonight, they're going to leave with even a greater sense of pride for what this cast and this program has meant to generations before, but to their generation today that are watching the show. They have a chance to see themselves in a different world cast and those characters.
I'd like to add something to that. I think also that there are people who care, there are people who are doing good with their celebrity, you know, and I couldn't be more proud of my colleagues up here for what they have contributed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sydney Chester. I am with BSU TV News. Not only an actor, but as a person.
That's interesting. And so, how has my character impacted me? Well, every day, so there's that. You know, so I've been impacted by that. I can't say how many folks said, I know your name is Darryl, but I'm going to call you Ron. Okay, whatever your name is, I'm going to decide what I'm going to call you today. I can see how that works. But for me, I say for all of them, it is different that all of the writers created all of those characters. I'm the only one who essentially created my own character. And that was because I was hired as like a day player that became a weekly player that became a series regular. So the glasses that Ron wore were mine, the hat that Ron wore was mine, the mustache Ron had was mine, you know. And as the writers wrote the character, and some things that they did for all of us to some extent, my father was the first African-American member of the New York Stock Exchange. I worked for my dad. Ron worked for his dad, who was an entrepreneur. I played the drums. Ron played the drums. So there were a lot of things that they used from my life that they infused into. And also, I was in a 7-year plan at college. And Ron's journey, I'm out of toes and fingers, so don't ask me how many more years. Just relax. But it's hard for me because I had to work hard. I didn't pass everything. I needed help from my dean. And one of the things that I think is really significant about the different world and its impact to students and why so many faculty members support our show is because, sure, we had concerts, sure, we had fun, but it's one of the few places you see black students in a classroom. Most magnificent scenes portrayed between Glynn Turman and Jasmine Guy with Colonel Taylor. And Colonel Taylor says, well, I've got a math equation for you. What do you think the chances are that student Gilbert graduates?
She was just a freshman who was head over heels for Dwayne to turn the table so he could feel what it's like, the way he was obsessed with Lisa Bonet's character, Denise. And as the show progressed, they discovered that I grew up on an Indian reservation, upbringing, and that my father was on the very first Greenpeace boat and worked with the AIM movement and grassroots movement, and so slowly she morphed into an activist, which is also at last reflecting and dressing freely. And I think a lot of the oddballs and all the people that don't necessarily fit in really found themselves in Freddie Brooks. So, which is me too. I'm always a little side. You're Freddie.
Thank God.
Well, for Kim, actually, it's very interesting. She was very different. I had no idea coming on the show that we had getting these beautiful chocolate kids, women and little boys and girls, asking me why am I so confident. And I think with Jasmine and Cree, that kind of sat me down because I didn't get it. Because I was living, I guess, in a bubble. You know, in the East Coast, it was about the work and about our character. Where she was very confident, and I was confident too. Oh yes, I am Kim. Let's get back to it. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. Oh, I am. Goodbye now.
Most people name their children after. Wow. There are thousands and thousands of Jaleesas across the country. It's very interesting when someone comes up to me and says that my mom named me after your character. That's a bit trippy. I was actually named after one of Mr. Cosby's dearest friends. Her name is Jaleesa Hazard. She was married to Walt Hazard, who played basketball for UCLA. And Jaleesa actually is a name that was crafted just for her. Walt was Muslim, they wanted to get married, they wanted to change her name, and what they wanted to change her name to, she didn't like. So Jaleesa was the compromise. It was a combination of two names and her name. So she is the original Jaleesa. And then came my character, and now there are thousands and thousands of them around the planet.
Yeah.
My journey on the show, I came at it from two completely different directions. One as a musician. The people who did the music for the show knew me as a singer-songwriter. They approached me about writing the theme song for the show. The people that cast the show, I was doing a Broadway show for them at the time, so they knew me as an actor. In less than 10 days, I had booked the co-star spot and writing the theme song, and they had no idea they had hired the same person until after they had hired me to do both jobs. Hallelujah. So that journey, that musical journey, that character journey, instilled in me an organization, because Jaleesa's so organized and spot on all the time when I'm really quite a ridiculous person, was interesting for me, because I was always the youngest everywhere I went. And now on the show, I'm playing the older person. It's like all of a sudden, when did that happen? When did I become the responsible adult in the room? No, really. So between the theme song blessing me on the show, and what I did was write my own personal experience of leaving home. I was 16 when I left home and started college, with nothing but being armed by what I was taught. Going to school, like Charlie, I was raised in New York. And I left New York and went to the University of Miami, thousands of miles away from everyone I know, armed with just what was spoken into my head and into my spirit about how to navigate socially, culturally, economically, learning about you're in a room with different people. I was never called a nigger to my face until I went to Miami. It's like, where am I right now? What am I being surrounded by? And when did that become a thing? When did that become okay to walk up to somebody and say something like that? It was a huge growth experience for me, and being on the show did the same thing. I've been a performer since I was a child, but being on television exposes you to the planet with all kinds of energies and people and stuff coming up to you, and nobody teaches you how to handle that. So personally, it was a really big, the people coming at you all the time and grabbing you and swinging you around. I thought that was you. Girl, you better come over here and take this picture with me. And you're like, okay, stranger.
Yeah, okay,
stranger. But no, it changed a lot of different things. It opened a lot of doors for me as a as a singer, songwriter, as a songer. I'm a songer. So, accolades and opportunities, and I'm grateful. Did you just say
We're never going to
songer.
You're about to be a songer too.
You're a songer from
You're a songer.
You're a songer in my heart.
One of us is a songer in my heart.
Sing that songer. Oh, as you can tell, we don't like each other.
like being around each other. We don't like spending time. We're running out of time, so we're going to get all the questions in.
That being said,
Yes.
the landscape of the educational space has changed so much with online learning and things of that nature, but there's something that is just like the energy that you said, not only with the cast members, but being on a campus and having people from different walks of life in the classroom and learning that. Could you speak to how that's still so important to have that interpersonal communication of being face to face with somebody and not, so much online, although it's necessary at some points and it's helped, what you guys have established and why you're here now and how it still works, that just that camaraderie that you can build by being face to face with somebody.
Oh boy.
Opinion on this, because there are two things that strike me about this. One, the access to online learning is good in that it allows you to reach a broader audience or broader student group. So if you are a single parent, male or female, and you are raising your children and you can still join and participate in class and learning remotely, that can often make it easier, right? So they're all, and I'm sure Dr. Rowe can speak to many other applications for which online and remote learning has proven to be really useful. There are people who have found out they can do their jobs remotely and be equally as effective. So that's good. Most of us are looking for some type of prison reform. And if we're looking for prison reform, one of the most devastating consequences of being in prison is isolation. And if you want to then extrapolate why there's been so much damage done to our young people who only know folks by Skyping, it's because you're isolated in that process. It is why so many young people are challenged to communicate and have a conversation because they text it to one another. They sit at the same table and text each other while they sit next to each other. It is the weirdest thing in the world to all of us who just don't understand what that's like. The ways in which parents have found it useful that those who went to the mall and you saw all those children have a meltdown, that now when your child is having a meltdown, when you put that screen in front of them, they go, oh, and they're okay. Well, that's good, but it's so much different than when I was young and as soon as we got home, we threw our books down and we went outside. Our parents didn't have a phone, didn't have a pager, didn't know where we were. They were happy we came home alive when streetlights came home. So that's a different experience. So I will be stunned if I am proven wrong that most folks excel even in their learning when they're in a study group. It's what helps that interpersonal connection and cooperative effort. 5 of us are better than 1 of us. And so I think there has not been a really good blending of technology and analog processes to come with the best outcomes. And I don't know if we continue to extrapolate forward, what does that mean for AI? What does that mean with ChatGPT and what it's doing for creating dialogue and monologue that you don't even have to think of anymore? I know a lot of people like, Stephen King may look down and look at the ChatGPT outline and say, here are all the reasons why it's not good enough. But for most people who don't have the skill set to read and write, ChatGPT is exponentially better than that. And I'm sure that is something that in education now, everyone has to look for the signs of when it's written by a human and when it's AI. So that's me being long-winded about that, but I would defer to Dr. Grove if she wanted to add more.
I'm ready to defer to you because I think you've been teaching lecture here today. Yes. Would love to continue on. I agree with everything that you said. We have wonderful technology at our fingertips. They're tools for our social creatures. We need to have contact with one another, and we see the impact.
Will your tour be going to other HBCUs in the DC metropolitan area?
in the DC area. I don't know if we're gonna be back in the DC area anytime soon, before the spring or fall of next year. So Bowie is it for the DC metro area for we're in the fall of 24. There you go.
Yeah, we already went to Howard earlier this year.
Right.
How was that?
We met with somebody. What was her name?
It was a woman.
I think it starts with a K.
Kamala?
Yeah,
Right.
Very nice lady. Very nice lady.
Really sweet.
Right on the tip of the
Really.
Yeah.
I hear she's looking for a new job now.
She's certainly qualified.
I mean, she's incredible.
Whatever black job, that's good.
I think whoever hires her would be very, very glad that they did.
Yes.
I think, yeah, she's an impressive hire.
Yeah.
I think so.
I support that.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? Actually, I'd like to ask the last question of each member of the cast here, to be meeting with students of Bowie State University, and I'd like for you to very quickly summarize what is the takeaway you want to leave them with as they leave the room. They don't remember anything else about the work that you've done on a different world. What do you want them to leave that room with?
Always try, always do your best. You never know who's watching. It's the one thing I tell any actor I meet, any young person who wants to get into this business. Always just do your best, because all I really was trying to do 35 years ago was my best, and be as honest and as real.
I love it. Actually, just know your purpose. I am with a lot of young people. Ask God what you're here to do. I mean, we're here for a reason. We're not here just to play. There's a reason why we're on this earth. And I believe we're there to serve and order to become leaders. So know your purpose, and carry it out. 50% at least, and God will take it away, but you gotta at least put in the effort.
Each of us that is sitting here now, it's beautiful to receive the accolades and the excitement, etc. But the fact is, we're all standing on someone's shoulders. Half of the people that Darryl mentioned were people that inspired us. The Lena Horns, the Gladys Knights, the Patty LaBelle, the different people that came up that fought for us to be able to have the right to do what we were doing at the time in a way that they could not even imagine. Remember, Diane Carroll came on set and made the statement that she looked around and there were black young people in front of the camera. We had black writers behind the camera. We had black producers. They had never seen any of that. Directors before, wardrobe, hair, makeup. It was incredible. We're standing on someone else's shoulders. So for those young people that come and see us today, while we're grateful for the excitement and the love you're giving us, don't let it stop with us. Don't let it stop with telling back in the day stories. Where they are sitting, where you are sitting right now, we're here for you to stand on our shoulders and take it to the next level. Let us be an inspiration. Let us be a foundation and a base where you're forever, like Kadeem said, moving forward, being your best self, while at the same time having regard and respect for how you got there. You didn't just show up and be amazing. Different people before you sacrificed. They created opportunity so that you can have an even bigger opportunity. That's what I would hope they would leave with.
2 words: dream bigger. If I were to ask all of the students who are going to be in the performing arts theater, I think we're going to have a majority number of performing arts students. But I would say to all young people, if you got to have a life outcome blank check, and you can fill it in with whatever you want it to be without any constraint, go ahead and write that down. Now, once I can read what you wrote down, multiply that by 10x. Bill Gates and Paul Allen created Microsoft with the plan to put a computer on every desk in the world. Now there's a computer in every hand in the world. That's the exponential bigger dream of what has become. I've talked to young folks who said, I want to be a professional athlete. And if you succeed, you're in the top 1% of athletes in the world. if you make it to professional level at any sport. Multiply that by 10. Be Tom Brady. Be Alex. Why am I not saying his name now? Derek Jeter's rival at shortstop. Alex A-Rod. Be Michael Jordan. Own the team. That's 10x. All of what you're doing right now, when I look at, for everyone who's paying attention.
Be yourself. Do not compromise who you are, because there's only one of you. No one has the same thumb, the same tongue. A success in this world, you must unabashedly be who you are. Yeah. Mic drop, Glynn, Turman.
And with that, God bless and good night.
Yes. Ciao, mate.
Thank you to the media for being here today. Thank you to A Different World cast, and we will see you later tonight.
Generation that get this video.
Yeah.
Don't know you. Give me your name and how you spell it.
Name and how you spell it?
Yes.
Great. Ready? Darryl M. Bell. D-A-R-R-Y-L. Letter M. B-E-L-L.
And look at me.
Oh, here's my eye line. Okay.
No worries.
There you go.
A producer gave me a few questions.
Yeah.
If I ask too many, just shut me down. Not
No,
a problem whatsoever.
I'm with you.
I appreciate that. How much did A Different World change the way people view HBCU?
Well, so many people. Well, you want me to give you the
I'm
question
sorry.
too? Yes. Okay.
That's perfect.
A Different World changed the way people see HBCUs in many ways. The first of which is so many people prior to A Different World didn't know that HBCUs existed. So first, just the fact that there are 107 HBCUs, and if you wanted to choose that as a college option, you could. Second, HBCUs, in one of the best episodes, there was a debate between Dwayne and one of his best friends about the choice between an HBCU and a PWI, a predominantly white institution. And for many years, HBCUs in certain circles were perceived as less than. That if you went to an HBCU, their standards were lower and the quality of their education was deficient. HBCUs have produced a vice president and a potential presidential candidate. HBCUs have produced more engineers, doctors, lawyers. Black excellence is represented at HBCUs. So they have changed the perception from the need when African Americans were precluded from attending other schools. They were created in order to give secondary education to African Americans. And now, almost 200 years later, they are continuing to excel in that capacity. Yeah.
One of our producers, when she was growing up, dreamt about going to Hillman.
Yeah.
And she wanted me to ask how the loss of affirmative action will affect HBCUs.
It's really hard to know what the long-term effects of the loss of affirmative action will do for HBCUs. There are the systemic outcomes and how that will adversely impact the school. You can't really tell. All I know is that all HBCUs are still committed to providing opportunity not only for African American students, but people are be surprised how many non-African Americans also attend HBCUs. Oftentimes an HBCU may be the best college option for white students or Asian students in their neighborhood. So diversity is important, providing opportunity to diverse students with diverse interests. HBCUs have always been on the forefront.
Let's put this on hold. They want me for a cast photograph.
Okay, let me.
Here.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Donnie, son.
Let's go.
You should be in the middle, though. You should be in the All right.
All right.
Lord.
All right, here we go.
Okay, I want to get in
Oh, yeah, me too.
there.
I want to.
Can I get in? I want to get in.
Come on, y'all. Let's do this. All right. Dr. Bro does have an institution.
Oh, right.
I'm having the best time of my life. You should have been here. I'm having a great time.
Steph, did you get it from the center for us?
What? I heard that.
Best name ever, I think.
You got it?
I'm not me. All right, here we go. All right, ready?
Yes, let's go. Come on in. Come on.
All right.
Baby,
And everyone on three, we say BSU around here. 1, 2, 3. BSU!
Around, say goodnight, Gracie.
Moving boldly into the future.
Oh, I love it.
Come on.
Yes, you around here.
What's on
Is that it again?
That's what a song would do. Okay.
Is the mic still there? Okay, because somebody. Yeah, somebody. That's right. Somebody grabbed it. So. Good.
All right. We hear the tour is incredibly popular and being attended by students who have parents who weren't around.
Yes.
You know what I mean.
I get it.
Why do you think the show and messaging is resonating with the next generation? The younger generation. All right. You don't have to repeat the question.
Okay.
Go for it when you're ready.
I think so many people remain engaged with the different world because it's one of the few places they can find themselves still. So if we're talking about where HBCU students can say, where's someone that is going through what I'm going through today, and that you can relate to the problems that you're experiencing on campus today, a different world remains evergreen for that precise reason. We are, and all of our characters are showing these young folks that many of the problems and challenges they face, these characters did, and even giving pathways to overcoming them. So I think that's an essential way in which a different world, and why all these young people still know our names, still know our character names, and still can recite dialogue verbatim from our show.
Great, thank you.
There it is. All right. Thank you.